Are you Adam Graham?
The very same. And this is my old-time radio snack wagon.
Welcome to the Old-Time Radio Snack Wagon, where we serve up a bite-sized portion of old-time radio. And now, here's your Snack Wagon host, Adam Graham.
There are many programs that will come to every now and again for our old-time radio snacks. But there are certain programs and certain personalities that are regular brands on this podcast. And one of those brands is John Nesbitt. John Nesbitt is such a perfect match for our podcast. He made a career of making an impact in a manner of a few minutes, providing inspiration or education depending on the occasion, through his Passing Parade short features on film, which won him 4 Academy Awards, as well as his Passing Parade and related radio programs that were either standalone features or segments on longer programs. I'm ready to get back to John Nesbitt, and this is such an interesting program that serves up some usual John Nesbitt storytelling prowess, but then also provides some great radio industry insight, as this was not a for-air broadcast. It is dated December 1st, 1940, and here is the Special Defense Commission recording.
December 1st, 1940, and this is Ken Carpenter announcing the start of a special series of John Nesbitt's celebrated Passing Parade. Those who have followed the stories and dramas of these well-known revues over the years may be pleased to learn that tonight begins a new group of them, which John Nesbitt believes will contain some of the most exciting and significant true stories of our time. This series, like the Passing Parade programs you hear on other nights of the week, is sponsored, yet no money is paid for services or network time. It advertises something, yet will contain no commercial announcement. But we'll leave the solving of that mystery up to you and switch controls to the microphone standing before the teller of tales, John Nesbitt.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and an evening which finds us taking our first story clue from a sheet of paper torn from a bookkeeper's ledger. This ledger is kept by a script boy on the MGM motion picture lot. In making movies, every blessed minute of the day's work has to be entered as the film is shot. If there's a delay of 2 minutes, 20 seconds, it goes down on this book, with the reason. If there's a delay of 20 minutes, a special report goes by special messenger to the front office. And if there is a delay of an hour, a sort of business hell breaks loose all over the studio. For a big movie costs about $1,000 an hour to make, so that if a screen star gets temperamental or can't remember a line, fortunes are wasted forever during the delay. Judy Garland got a cold not long ago that cost $28,000. But this particular report is taken from that kept for the production of a picture made 2 years ago at MGM, Clark Gable and Myrna Loy in Too Hot to Handle. And this report sheet shows some amazing delays. 38 minutes, 9 a.m. to 9:35, equipment breakdown. And again, 2 hours, 10 minutes, same day, equipment breakdown. Special reports went flying up to the big front offices, and Jerry Mayer, production chief, began having dizzy spells as he saw the towering production costs and realized that he was getting little film photographed. So he dashed over to stage 23, where the company was shooting. Clark Gable was behind a real Army machine gun, firing blank bullets at a horde of natives who were supposed to be attacking him. And the trouble was that the Army machine gun kept getting hot and jamming. The production manager called the Army experts who were hired to supervise this part of the picture. "What sort of a machine gun did you get us?" The Army officers grinned. "The latest U.S. Army equipment, but no machine gun in the world can be shot continuously without jamming. Metal expands from heat and wham! And nothing to do about it." Jerry Mayer, production chief, was licked, but he decided to pull off a little dramatic scene just in case a miracle could be worked. He turned on the property man for the picture, a veteran MGM employee named Jack Gaylord. "Now, look here. You prop men are famous for making things work. Either make that blasted machine gun go without jamming and holding up this picture, or you're fired." And he stumped off the set. Mayer, of course, didn't mean this, but to the property man it was law. He took the machine gun home that night, got out his toolkit, and tinkered with the gun all night. Next day, when Mayer in the front office got his hourly reports, not a single delay appeared. Apparently the gun was no longer jamming. Now, moving picture property men are supposed to be ingenious. They are the professional mechanical troubleshooters on every picture job, and so the matter was forgotten. Forgotten for 2 years. And we went on making moving pictures out at MGM. In the meantime, of course, Poland was invaded, destroyed, France fell, and the world caught flames, and we went on making movies. Last month on Stage 23, a war movie was being filmed. Again, Clark Gable. Again, the prop man named Jack Gaylord. And again, a machine gun sequence to film. Finally, 2 Army officers to see that the military equipment was used correctly. For 6 almost continuous hours, the hero of the film shot the machine gun, and it did not jam. The prop man's old gadget was used, and no complaints came down from the business office. But the Army officers suddenly jumped to their feet. An idea. They ran over to the machine gun. "Why hasn't that thing jammed? You haven't given it a rest all morning." "Why," said the prop man, "I fixed it up a little." A little? Man, do you realize that every government on Earth has been trying to develop a machine gun like that for 50 years? That night, the gun from MGM, covered with canvas and sealed, went to the secret Army experimentalist station. For a moving picture prop man, just to do his daily job, had calmly invented one of the first major improvements on the military machine gun since air cooling was installed. He had patented his gadget, too, with the help of the studio. The Army officials asked him if he wanted to have America use it. "Sure," said Gaylord. "There's a war going on, ain't they?" Then they went to the studio, which had full rights to the patents because Gaylord had developed it while an employee. And the studio officials said, "Of course you can take it. It belongs to Gaylord and the government. We don't want any part of a profit on a thing that works for the defense of the country." So today, hidden away in the Army planning rooms is a new secret of defense. The contribution of a moving picture studio and a working man to the nation. It is a perfectly true account, and to me one of the great yarns of this crowded passing parade. We've found Gaylords before to give us history for the parade, and last Tuesday a fellow named Tony made news in a different way. It will never make a headline, this yarn about Tony, but it doesn't have to last. For Antonio Peretti of Chicago got his name in the papers last Tuesday for the first and last time in his life, because he swept the street. Tony has been in this country 32 years, but his English is still not so good. When he got out of the steerage for his first look at America, he thought America looked fine. Got a job as a Chicago street cleaner a few weeks later with a wonderful white uniform to wear. Tony loved it, made and saved his money, married a fine girl, and became responsible for the presence of 6 bambinos in this world. Then the depression, layoffs, years of struggle, and at last no job in 18 months. 9 weeks ago, somebody told Tony that all he had to do was to go to Uncle Sam, sign some papers, and he would be fixed up. Tony did this, curiously watched the investigator lady poke around his tenement. Then he began receiving miraculous presents. The grocer said he could have credit. The bambinos got new shoes. Maria cooked a whole sheep's head for a feast. All was well, and all Tony had to do was to stay home and read the racing forms. But this simplest of American citizens was worried. For weeks he tried to figure it out. Uncle Sam just sends you money. You sit out in the sun and watch the girls go down the sidewalk. He was badly puzzled. And last week a bright light broke over him. Beaming with secret pleasure, Tony rose at his old working hour of 5 a.m., donned his white coat, got his broom out of the closet, and up and down the tenement street he went, scrupulously cleaning every foot, and in the afternoon got some rags and went back and forth polishing doorknobs. When, to his utter confusion, the newspaper boys arrived to photograph this marvelous recipient of Uncle Sam's relief checks, Antonio Peretti had but one proud statement to make. If this crazy Uncle Sam is going to help Tony, Tony's going to help Uncle Sam. I sweep the street. The Chicago newspaper men, who seldom get a chance to write about people whom they don't secretly think are phony as sin, chuckled to themselves all day. And the one of them who sent me this item wrote, and the funny thing is there wasn't any one of us but was moved by the thought that if enough Tonys exist who want to serve the nation that serves them, we'll have no trouble in keeping America in the top seat of the earth. The yarns of this parade are based upon many little clues. Sometimes a letter, sometimes a telephone call, sometimes an object. Tonight another scrap of paper, torn this time from an English newspaper called the Manchester Guardian, and it is all the clue I need. It is a reproduction of a photograph some unknown man took at Dunkirk. It shows an English boy, about 20 years old, kneeling down behind a breastwork of dirt, shooting his rifle at something coming toward him. The rifle I see in the picture is a beautiful one. Automatic, a big clip of cartridges suspended below the firing chamber. One of the best rifles in the world. You just give the trigger a gentle squeeze and it begins to throw steel-jacketed lead so fast that no camera can catch the interval between bullets. That rifle was presented to the English boy by his nation, by the plain people who labored and scraped up the money to pay the taxes that were used to buy that rifle. Then the people scraped up more money somehow, and this was in 1938, to have a brilliant officer teach the boy how to use it. And from the manner in which the boy holds the rifle in the picture, I think he learned his lesson well. But where's the story in this? I'll tell you. The nation gave the rifle. The boy gave himself strong and well-trained. The army gave him good officers. But when that picture was published in England, a scream of rage and horror went up from 1 million throats. Because what that boy is aiming at is an oncoming tank. No beautiful automatic firing rifle ever stopped a tank. The point is this. The boy had nothing else to fire with. It seems there were no anti-tank guns. Not enough of them. So the boy and the fine rifle and the officer who taught him to use it and the nation that gave him these things all lost the battle. The boy never got across the channel that day, nor any other day, and his expensive rifle that should have been an anti-tank cannon lies somewhere in the bloody clay of Dunkirk Harbor today. All during the year that preceded the second that picture was snapped, the factories ran on 2 shifts only. There was an hour for tea every afternoon. The politicians debated diplomatic issues, and the largest democracy on earth went serenely along, preparing for invasion as if it were going to be a cricket match. And no Englishman listening in tonight will be angry with me for saying this, for England knew the answer when it came. They convulsively threw out one government, threw their fortunes and lives into the game, and in their rage and fury and greatness, they've captured the heart of the world by the effort they made. But no Englishman, sadly picking his way through the shattered streets of his beautiful city of London, denies that for all of those 20-year-old boys who fell at Dunkirk, the effort came too late. And it is because we have here determined that no man here shall sleep through the danger warnings of today, that in America we've demanded the sacrifice never before taken in time of peace, the conscription of our manpower. It is because of the terror of that English boy standing firing rifle bullets at a tank that we come before you with these reports on the weekly progress of the national defense. My own efforts touch only the West Coast, but perhaps we can get good commentators to work in every time area right across the country. In the weeks to come, I'll tell you the yarns about the great silver airplane out at the Douglas Works, about the men who are building it, of the problems facing the men of the Army and the forces, their needs, which have become our needs. On other nights of the week, of course, we'll continue our parade as it's sponsored by a bank and by a bread company in the East. But on this night, our sponsor will be the nation, our co-sponsor, a well-known party called the Instinct of Self-Preservation, the instinct that speaks clearly to us in America today when it says, we shall not make our effort too little, and we shall not make it too late. But our time is up, so until we join you again a week from tonight, John Nesbitt bidding a very good evening to you all. Gentlemen, what you have just heard is a typical program of a series which is proposed in my own radio territory of the 11 western states. I say my own territory, and by that I mean the territory in which I have a certain following. It is the only one, or rather this is only one individual effort of many that are now taking place and of the more which must follow. If your public relations men do a brilliant job of keeping the public informed about defense work, about 20% of the general public might be interested. That is, the enlightened group. But at least 80% of the people cannot be made to think about the word and about the work, but only to feel. That is why this series of programs is proposed to keep the emotional fires burning underneath the boilers of the defense. Emotion for the mass, clear information for the fortunate minority. Both efforts, honest, candid, but radio used for the emotional side of the task. I propose to do 13 of these programs, test them for results, and go on from there wherever the road leads. Unofficial, purely voluntary, asking nothing from the Defense Commission save a go-ahead. No authorization to bring political problems. an individual voluntary contribution to the public relations side of the task, to attempt to keep the laboring man interested, to reach him through his radio, his emotions, his dramatic imagination. Radio is founded upon this appeal. It is this technique of popular showmanship I'm curious to test out in this service. If successful, more of it, broadened, tied in with press work. If unsuccessful, no harm is done. But thank you for your attention, and good afternoon.
Welcome back. Well, some dramatic stories. Really, in a short amount of time, the three stories that he focused on really ran a gamut from a sort of, well, that's an interesting fact, to, wow, that is inspiring, to the utter horror of what happened at Dunkirk and the urgency of getting America's defenses up to snuff. But the big thing is the part where we get to hear Nesbitt speak to the Defense Commission, and you had his overall philosophy. And that is the role of emotion, and that he views it as a necessity to keep people emotionally engaged in the national defense effort. And he doesn't suggest that this is right or wrong, it's just a fact of human existence and what keeps people motivated and where you need to meet people. And it's critical that he also views it as a situation where he is being honest as the factual reporting, but connecting in a different way. And I think in years before and since, where speaking to emotions has been used in a negative way, it's been used to manipulate and to deceive people, which wasn't what John Nesbitt's aim is here. You also get just a feeling of that is this sort of growing patriotism and desire to do his part that so many people in the country would share. He wasn't hoping for money or ratings. It was just like, this is something I think can help, and let's just give it a try. See if it works. If it does, great, we can do more of it. If it doesn't, well, we're not harming anything. I just want to do what I can. And it's just such a great capture of not only his philosophy and his approach, but of the way so many people approach this particular moment. It's time for me to close up the old snack wagon. But don't worry, we'll be back with another serving of old-time radio goodness before you know it. If you want to enjoy some of our longer-form podcasts, you can feast away at my website at greatdetectives.net. Your emails are also welcome at adam@snackwagon.net.
The Old Time Radio Snack Wagon comes to you from Boise, Idaho. Your host is Adam Graham. Sound production is by Rhines Media, LLC. You can listen to past episodes of the Old Time Radio Snack Wagon as well as connect on social media at our website at snackwagon.net. Email suggestions for episodes to adam@snackwagon.net. This has been the Old Time Radio Snack Wagon.
Until next time, goodbye.